Arrests and deportations of undocumented immigrants are up another 9% this year, and the Trump administration is even deporting citizens and targeting immigrants who take in migrant children. Justice for Our Neighbors is a United Methodist ministry providing legal services and advocacy to immigrants. To find out how they're responding to this ongoing crisis, let's welcome Claudia Marchan, the new Executive Director of Northern Illinois Justice for Our Neighbors. We also welcome Reverend Paula Cripps Vallejo, a JFON board member and pastor of Humboldt Park United Methodist Church in Chicago. Tell us about the clients that you're serving. Where are they coming from and what kind of issues are they struggling with?
So our clients are coming from all over the world, literally. We are seeing clients that come from North America, Central and South America, and also Africa, Europe. We serve primarily about 25% asylum seekers and refugee seekers, as well as family petitions and citizenship and work authorization petitions. And about 55% of our clients are women, along with children and a lot of those family petitions.
So can you speak to briefly some of this terminology that we're using? What's the difference between a refugee, an asylum seeker, a work visa seeker?
Sure. So I'll start with the refugee and asylum seekers. So those seekers are primarily they're running away from violence, primarily in their country. The main difference between a refugee and an asylum seeker is that a refugee has to be outside of the United States while they're seeking their petition into the United States, and an asylum seeker can seek it at the border or can seek it here in the United States. There is a 1-year kind of period that they have to seek it within being in the United States.
Can you share a story or two that gives some color to that? What does that look like?
Well, primarily those that are seeking refuge in the United States that are running from violence. We've seen, it's been our experience that they've been mostly women, and that they're running from either some kind of violence from either their partner, or if it's an individual seeking, for some kind of religious persecution or even race. I'll give you an example of some women that we have had seek asylum. There was one member that sought asylum. She received it, a couple of, years after she petitioned it, and this was just, I believe, in the past year that she received her asylum. She was running away from an abusive partner and had to leave her 3 daughters behind. Now that she has received asylum, she can now request a family petition to bring her 3 daughters over. So it's definitely something that, she's so very grateful, that we're grateful that we were able to provide that for her, and now she can be reunited with her daughters.
Reverend, could you share with us why this is an important ministry for the United Methodist Church?
I think, first of all, as people of faith, that we read the Bible, and the Bible talks more than 30 times, the Bible talks so many times about what it means to welcome the stranger. And I think for me, as a U.S.-born white American, that there's so many different ways that we can do that. But I think JFON is one of the best ways because it's very practical. We offer free, high-quality immigration legal services. We engage folks in education and advocacy, whether they themselves are immigrants. We educate immigrants on what their rights are. We educate the non-immigrant community on what does it mean to advocate for healthy immigration reform and the rights of all folks to be respected wherever they've come from, whatever their reason for being here, and to truly build up cross-cultural community, which for me as a person of faith is the kingdom of God on earth.
So Jeff Sessions and others in the Trump administration have cited the Bible as justification for separating families and deporting people. How would you respond to that?
Well, I think Jeff Sessions was using this passage in Romans 13 that talks about obeying the law and the government. And unfortunately, those are the same verses that were used to justify the atrocities and the evil of slavery for many years in the United States of America. And so this idea that the law of the land of the United States trumps God's law, for me, is actually offensive. And as a fellow United Methodist, I find it really troubling that Jeff Sessions and other folks of faith have said that they believe there's justification for the tearing apart of families and for continued detention of folks or deportation. And the interesting part about that passage in Romans 13, 1 and 2, once you get to verse 13 or so, it says love is the fulfillment of the law, right? And so for me, it's hard to see that you're using these two verses at the beginning of a chapter without reading the end of the chapter. And so whatever law we are fulfilling must, I think, bring about love for neighbors, love for self, love for country. But that can't happen in a culture of fear, of xenophobia, of misogyny that we exist in right now.
What do you see as long-term solutions?
I mean, I think unless we have a drastic change in immigration laws, that we're going to continue this cycle in one way or another of deportation and detention and separation of families. And the model of justice for our neighbors was actually created in the late 1990s by the United Methodist Committee on Relief, which is UMCOR, which is kind of like a religious version of the Red Cross. And it was created in response to the 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform Act of America, and that is actually when the term illegal started becoming popular. It was when the United Methodist Church said, hey, this is a political disaster. What are we going to do in response? You know, when there's floods, we go respond. You know, the United Methodist Church is on the ground in North Carolina right now. They're still on the ground in Puerto Rico. They're, you know, still in responding to natural disasters. But JFON was created in the late 90s as a response to the political disaster that unfortunately has continued. So I feel we need to have a drastic change in how we view what's the role of immigrants and migrants and asylum seekers and refugees in this country, and create paths for them and their families. I serve a predominantly Latino church. Even though I'm a white woman, I learned Spanish. And for my families, there's this constant fear they live in, where one person has a green card, the other is undocumented, or they're both undocumented, or, you know, there's so many different ways families are here. But it's, for me, unfair that they have to live in fear because of the laws of this country that do not value family and do not value the hard work and the contributions that immigrants make and make us who we are.
What can congregations do to help?
I think that is a lot of the work that we are taking on with JFUN. So as an organization, we're committed to, of course, the high quality legal assistance, but also to education and advocacy, and of course building cross-cultural communities. So that's a lot of where we are very blessed and lucky to be a part of the United Methodist Church, where I think we're able to do not only, you know, education on kind of immigration 101, right, kind of demystifying everything that's out there, because what people know is really what they hear on social media, and that can be very one-sided. So that's a lot of the work that we take on, I think, as an organization with congregations, as well as the advocacy work, right? So partnering up with our local churches, going to visit our congressmen, and really, you know, getting the word out and letting everyone know how they can help, building allies. This is a time where we need to continue building allies, and that's also something that we're very blessed to have with the United Methodist Church.
And you have an upcoming fundraiser. Is that something people could attend and help get involved?
Yes, we do, of course. So we do, it's our annual fundraiser. It's Sunday, October 14th at the Two Brothers Roundhouse in Aurora. And there is, it's a ticketed event. This is how we, you know, hope to raise funds for the work that we do. And all are welcome to enjoy from 4 to 6:30 on Sunday, October 14th.
Thank you, Claudia and Reverend Paula. I'm Liz Dunn for Different Drummers and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.